What if the thoughts familiar to all of us, the ones that start with "what if," were taken seriously? What if crossing from one place to another didn't require permission? No announcement, no decision. It just happened. Countries still had names, languages, and laws. Nothing had merged, nothing had disappeared. Only the act of crossing had changed. At first, people felt uneasy. News programs talked about it constantly. People discussed it on social media. Commentators used words like loss, control, authority. They imagined crowds appearing overnight. But days passed, and nothing dramatic happened. Trains kept moving. Flights still landed. The main thing was that movement didn't feel like escape. It felt like continuity. Soon, people began to test it, gently, almost playfully. A trip to Italy to have a tasty dinner and see beautiful architecture, which once required weeks of preparation, applying, and waiting for a visa, now started on impulse. A boy named Amir noticed something before adults did. At school, when teachers asked students to introduce themselves, no one mentioned where they were from anymore. They talked about what they liked, what they were curious about, what they wanted to build. Amir realised he had stopped rehearsing answers he used to prepare in advance. No one asked him to represent a place. Children grew up assuming this was normal. They learned geography and history, but borders felt like old stories, like something people once needed to feel safe. Crossing them didn't feel like a decision that sometimes meant leaving everything behind forever. It felt like walking from one room into another. The world didn't become fair. Some places were still safer. Some were still harder to live in, but inequality no longer stayed politely distant. When people could move freely, differences became personal. You could no longer pretend they belonged somewhere else. And slowly, without anyone announcing it, the question changed. Not, where are you allowed to go, but why do you stay? In the evenings when the house was quiet, when a book lay open but unread, when a cat slept warmly on someone's lap and a thought returned that refused to disappear. And if this were true, would the world feel bigger or smaller? Would freedom feel light or heavy? If this question stayed with you, sit with it a little longer, and if you want more stories like this, stories that don't rush to answers, you're in the right place. What if this were true?